The holographic transmission flickered across every screen in human space. Commander Desiree Chen stood motionless in the bridge of the UNSC Retribution. Her hands clenched so tightly that her knuckles had turned white. The image before her showed Ambassador James Morrison, humanity's first diplomat to the Galactic Council, kneeling in the grand chamber of Zenith Prime. His hands were bound behind his back, his face bloodied but defiant. The Council Arbiter, a towering Crithian with scales that shimmered like oil on water, read the charges in a voice that echoed with artificial authority. James Morrison of Earth, you have been found guilty of cultural contamination, technological theft, and violations of 17 treaties that your species never signed. The sentence is immediate execution. Desiree had known James personally. They had attended the academy together, had shared drinks after grueling missions, had debated humanity's place among the stars during long night watches. He had volunteered for the diplomatic mission, believing that humanity could earn its place through dialogue and understanding. He had been wrong. The Crithian's plasma blade descended in a swift arc. The transmission ended. For 3 seconds, the bridge was silent. Then Desiree turned to her crew, her voice cold as the void itself. General quarters. All hands to battle stations. Send the code word to Fleet Command. Prometheus unbound. Within hours, the response came from Earth. Admiral Rebecca Thorne's message was brief. Authorization confirmed. Rules of engagement, there are none. Show them what happens when you execute our diplomats. The Galactic Council had made a catastrophic miscalculation. They had assumed humans were like every other species they had encountered, peaceful, cautious, willing to submit to the established order. They had not understood that humanity's diplomatic overtures were not signs of weakness, but of restraint. They had not studied Earth's history, had not learned about the wars that had forged humanity in nuclear fire and biological horror. They had not understood that humans were apex predators who had clawed their way to the top of their world's food chain through sheer, brutal tenacity. The Council was about to receive an education. Desiree's first target was the border station at Kepler 442. The Vryn who commanded, it had stood beside the Arbiter during James's execution, his multiple eyes gleaming with satisfaction. The Retribution emerged from jump space with weapons already hot. The station's shields were cutting-edge Galactic Council technology, theoretically impenetrable. Humans had never cared much for theory. The Retribution's main cannon was a testament to human engineering philosophy. If something doesn't work, make it bigger and hit it harder. The weapon channeled the output of a miniature fusion reactor through magnetic rails that accelerated depleted uranium penetrators to a fraction of light speed. The first salvo punched through the station's shields like they were tissue paper. The second salvo turned the station into an expanding cloud of debris. Desiree felt no satisfaction, only cold purpose. Jump coordinates logged. Move to the next target. Across human space, the war machine awakened. Humanity had been preparing for this possibility since the first contact. The diplomatic mission had been genuine, but humans had learned long ago to hope for the best while preparing for the worst. Shipyards that had been building civilian vessels retrofitted them with weapons in days. Mining stations became forward operating bases. Colony worlds activated defense networks that the Council had never suspected existed. The Galactic Council had dominated known space for 3,000 years. They had encountered hundreds of species, and all had eventually submitted to their authority. Their military doctrine was based on overwhelming force and technological superiority. They sent a fleet of 200 warships to crush the human rebellion before it could spread. They sent those 200 ships to the Sol system, to Earth itself, intending to make an example of humanity's homeworld. None of those ships returned. The Battle of Sol became legendary, whispered about in fearful tones across the galaxy. The Council fleet emerged from jump space in perfect formation, confident in their numerical superiority. They found themselves facing a defense network that seemed to violate every principle of economic warfare. Humans had turned their entire asteroid belt into weapons platforms. They had hidden railgun batteries on their moons. Their warships used tactics that the Council had never seen: kamikaze drones, nuclear-pumped lasers, kinetic bombardment, biological weapons that targeted specific species. But the most terrifying aspect wasn't the weapons themselves. It was the humans wielding them. Council species fought to achieve objectives. Humans fought to win. When a human ship was disabled, its crew would override the reactor safeties and ram the nearest enemy vessel. When ammunition ran low, they closed to boarding range and fought hand-to-hand. When all seemed lost, they triggered self-destruct sequences that took multiple enemy ships with them.